Alright, so it's that time of the month again. It's gonna be, I guess we'll call this Ask Brandon. Makes sense, right? I was originally gonna plan just call it like answering your questions, insert month and year here. But honestly, Ask Brandon, nice easy way to search for it. And as always, if you have a question that you want to see featured in a video like this one, always ask me, either in this comment section or I usually make it once a month. I'll have a community post where I'm asking for questions. So if you ever want to see something answered in a video or just want me to answer it, because I typically do that anyway, be sure to leave me those hot hitting questions. Could be anime or non-anime related, and if it's good enough, I'll feature it in a video. So without further ado, let's kick in. So this first one, which is basically a comment in relation to a video, but the question inside, I wanted to ask for the video how long you have been doing YouTube and what made you start it. So how long I've been doing YouTube, that's a pretty interesting one. It's kind of like a long story that I'll try to condense down. Back when I was in college there in 2015, I was friends with some bigger YouTubers at the time, just naturally fell out with them, just people move on with different things. But around 2015, everyone was kind of doing it. And I was like, oh, I'll throw my hat into the ring. And I was watching a very shitty OVA series that was on Crunchyroll, like 3 episodes long. It was a shitty vampire one. It's no longer on the channel. I'm honestly completely forgetting what it was called. But honestly, you're not missing out on the anime in question. And I just put it together. I used Movie Maker. I just recorded some audio. I made a quick script after class one day. And honestly, it was just really fun. My original goal wasn't to like become a YouTuber or anything. It was more of like, oh, I'm gonna try to make a video every week, and I did that for a couple of months, and then it became every other week, and then it became a month, and then it became once every 6 months, and it was really just I was doing podcasts with my friends. And then it came to about late 2016 into 2017. I was like, hey, I'm not very happy with where I'm at in life. Let's do something I want to do. Let's throw my hat into the ring. I have a lot of savings. I can, quit my current job here, start getting the idea, my momentum going, and then ultimately went and got a different job that I could work alongside with YouTube, and it just kind of built into what we're here. And now I just do YouTube and make a pretty healthy living. So it started in 2015, but it really started in 2017, because 2015 to 17 was more or less just a hobby. 17 onwards was me truly trying to be something different, and I don't know, I think I've succeeded more often than not. I mean, I take the long road, I don't take the easy road to get there, and even if you try to take the easy road, it's not guaranteed you'll get there. So I've just been doing my thing, people have been sticking by, so it's been a long haul, but I'm still feeling good about it. I find videos are still just as fun. I don't find them to be a chore unless, other things are piling down on me. But yeah, that's kind of like the short, long version of how long I've been doing it. So this next one, which anime did you watch in a few years back that changed your opinion about certain genres of anime? This one's actually very easy for me. As soon as I saw that question, I was like, Haikyuu. See, sports anime and myself, we don't really get along, but I will say over the past few years, I've grown more fond of certain ones, but I could not get into any sports anime for the longest time. All the big hitters out there, I wasn't into them. Generally, the aesthetic wasn't for me, and just, they weren't fun. And for whatever reason, there's one night I wanted to try Haikyuu, and I was getting ready to bed, I was just watching some anime before bed, and within 5 minutes, I loved the presentation, I loved the energy of its main character, and within less than a week, I finished both seasons that were out at the time, and it just completely made me say, I want more anime like Haikyuu. It still took a bit. I mean, the Megalobox came around, there's been certain ones, like, I kind of have, it's not my go-to genre, but I'm more, inclined to try or at least keep an eye out, where before I was like, I don't like sports in the real world, it's not fun to me, it's seriously the most boring thing to me. I would much rather watch paint dry. I know that sounds like an exaggeration, that's just not my cup of tea, and honestly, Haikyuu made me give more of them a shot, and that's how I discovered series like Megalobox, and honestly, I've never been happier to be wrong about a genre. It just sometimes takes a while, but I always say never force yourself to watch something if you don't like it. Try things, drop them if you don't like it, and then that way you can keep trying until you find the things you actually enjoy. Do you feel that the anime industry is overcrowded with a lot of titles, and that unifying sense of community in the early 2000s is disappearing in almost all but the biggest anime projects? There used to be classics that we said you needed to watch if you wanted to watch anime in general. Now do you think such a list can exist? This is an interesting one, and I would say nothing's really changed. There's just more good stuff being made. I think where what used to happen, especially before streaming sites like Crunchyroll were able to give us, like, within a couple of hours of it airing in Japan, we watch locally subtitled anime. Where before, you'd be watching part 1, 2, 4, and 5 of the anime on YouTube, but part 3 wouldn't exist because that part got deleted or something like that. Where now, yeah, you still get your big shows. Like, I think, as an example, like, if you were to, before the big anime boom over the past little bit here, you know, Steins Gate was the go-to recommendation of time travel stories. Now, ReZero's up there for a lot of people. Hell, Tokyo Revengers, right? Even Erase, even though some people may have controversies with that, like, there's different shows for them that are their big time travel story that they're gonna recommend from 2000 to 2021. And I don't think there's a lack of community. I think there's just more. And I think that's what makes it great, is that you're not stuck with 3 things in a season where you got your One Piece, you got some romance anime, and you got some new thing no one's watching. Right now, there's like 50 things that you can pick from, and I think that's fantastic. I think there isn't a lack of community. I think there's more. It's just that it's more spread out, and I think that's why channels like myself serve a purpose in bringing those different sections together in one place, because then the people who are watching one show a season, the people who only watch the, I don't know, let's say the Vinland Sagas, the Demon Slayers, the Attack on Titan, they know I'm going to cover that stuff because I like it, but they're also going to say, what the hell is a Sunny Boy? And that section of the community are going to say, oh, thank God, someone who talks about the big shows also talks about the little shows. Obviously, there's, you know, it's a double-edged sword. People think you need to cover everything when you do that, but I don't think there's a lack of it. I just think it's spread out, and it can be hard to discover, and I think that's why, even if, like, didn't need to make money off YouTube, even if, like, I won the lottery someday, right? I would still make videos. It would just be a little less, but it, you know, there's still community, and I think it's a lot more spread out because there's so many good shows being made. There's a lot of bad shows, I think, but it's all about just finding your thing and finding a channel that's covering. Like, if you love live reactors, you know, yeah, maybe it'll take you a bit of digging to find a live reactor covering your favorite thing of the season if they don't cover all that much. But, you know, I wouldn't say anything's different. It's just there's more. And I think that's good. It's just you have to work a little harder to find that community outreach, which is why, as much as I talk shit about Reddit, places like r/anime generally are a great source if you're not specifically into channels, which you probably are if you're watching this video, goddammit, but you kind of get my point. Do you have any thoughts on the big 3 anime? One Piece, Bleach, Naruto? One Piece, yes, and the other 2, not really. Bleach is an example I never got into, mainly because I've heard mixed things about the anime, and I'm not a big manga guy, kind of similar to Naruto, just not really for me. One Piece, however, I've read, like, most of the manga up to, like, the last 200 chapters. Originally, I was watching the anime, and I know people talk shit about the anime. They don't really anymore, because, like, I guess it's really good right now, but in terms of the first 500 episodes, you know, there's, like, watch orders, but I watched, like, the first few hundred episodes, and then ultimately I was like, okay, this is taking too long. I'm just going to read it. And I thought it was great. I think it's fantastic. Great world building. All the characters are fantastic. It's just, ultimately, I was like, I read enough. Watch so much of something in a short amount of time, you burn yourself out. And then I was like, you know what? I'll just wait 10 years or however long it takes for it to end, and then I'll do a complete read of it. So I think One Piece is fantastic. And I think either of the big 3, if you like them, enjoy them. I don't think there's anything wrong with them, and it'll be interesting to see how One Piece eventually does end and if there'll be backlash, because I think we're basically at a point in our society where anything with a big following is never going to satisfy everyone when it does end, and it will be interesting to see if there is backlash to One Piece when it does end. Hi Brandon, really liking your channel. What you didn't make a video on the conclusion of Wonder Egg Priority? I assume is why didn't you make a video on the conclusion of Wonder Egg Priority? To disappoint / angry. I actually answered this one in a response, but I think it's worth mentioning here. I was one of the rare people who enjoyed season 2 of The Promised Neverland. It was probably one of the most miserable, and honestly I'd say it was the most miserable experience I had covering a show weekly, because the comment section were just hideous. It wasn't a difference of opinion, it was people refusing to accept that I liked something they didn't. And within the final month of covering that season, I was just miserable, but I continued because, you know, there were people who liked hearing my opinion, and honestly I wish I didn't cover it just given the emotional strain it was. But people were sending me death threats. People were saying, oh, look at him, he's trying so hard to do a loop around to find good things about season 2. Made no fucking sense. I can't even censor that, because here's the thing, right? That season was hated. If I wanted to roll with the clicks, I'd do dumbass clickbait that said, oh, here's why it's trash. No, I was giving my honest opinion about it. So when Wonder Egg Priority took a break there and finally came out, I saw the same type of verbal hate being targeted towards that final episode, and I was perfectly fine with it. I didn't think the final episode lived up to the last however many episodes, 11 episodes or whatever of the show, but it basically went where I thought it was going to the entire time, and my videos back that statement. So basically, if I see the community acting like animals and I think I'm just gonna get hate that's gonna make me feel like shit, just not gonna cover it. It's simply how it is. It's, it's how it's gonna be for some time, and I wish it didn't have to be that way. I wish people could say, I dislike One Piece, or I love One Piece, and it was treated with the same. It's different if people are saying, you have to accept my opinion, or people are being assholes about their opinions. But, someone saying, hey, I like this episode, and then, it's like, oh shit, like, what the hell is this type of hate? That's why I didn't cover on this. It's not why I don't cover other things. Sometimes I just grow bored, or I just don't have time and I fall behind too far. But in the case of stuff like Wonder Egg Priority, that's why. What anime genres do you have a soft spot for, like the ones you tend to show more interest in when scouting anime for upcoming seasons? I always look forward to fantasy/mecha anime, even though there is a lot of trash, I still find them enjoyable. It kind of varies, I guess, from year to year. Right now, it's the comedy isekais, like stuff like Dungeon of Black Company, or even like Combatants Will Be Dispatched. The kind of ones where like either the main character's an asshole and bad shit happens to him, like Konosuba style, or just, they're just scumbags and they kind of succeed but fail. There's something really entertaining because we don't have as many of those as we have the typical hero formula. So right now, that's my go-to, and whenever I get bloated of those, I'm sure it will shift to something else. I mean, for a long time, it was rom-coms, and right now, it's like the comedy isekais or dark comedy isekais at this point. What made you wake up one day and say, hey, I want to be an anime content creator? Who was your inspiration, if any, and do you have any advice for anyone starting up? Now, I think we kind of already touched upon that within like the first couple there, but I think in terms of inspirations and advice, I think this is worth mentioning. Glass Reflection was actually my biggest one. I loved what he was doing in Holden Reviews. That was like my biggest one, and then ultimately I made my own style with how I was doing things, but I mean, I respect both of them a hell of a lot, and in terms of advice, it's really screw the trends. Like, that's the best advice I can give anyone. I mean, it's good to cover popular shows because you'll get more traction, but if you're the kind of channel that only has the Demon Slayers and Attack on Titans as your channel, not only are you probably fooling yourself into just covering what's popular, you're gonna grow bored. There's a reason why I don't grow bored of covering a dozen shows a season, because I naturally pick what I enjoy. Basically, I scout the list and I say, okay, what do I think will be popular and what do I enjoy? And I kind of craft like 2/3, I'm trying to keep it popular, but I also cover the shows like a Sunny Boy, which honestly I've been doing pretty good on my channel, but I go in expecting 500 views. And as long as you don't give up, if you start dropping shows because they don't get any coverage, it looks a lot better for a channel to cover a complete series than dropping it after 2 episodes because it got a dozen views, but you continued on with the show that got 100 views. And I know it's hard for people. Trust me, I know. I mean, when I was working my other job for the past couple of years before doing this full time, I was working 80 hours a week. I was working 2 full jobs essentially to cover, and I had shitty internet and shitty rendering speeds, but you gotta be real to yourself, cover what you want to cover, be smart about it, use attractive thumbnails, use attractive titles, but don't lose your soul in the process. If you cover what you enjoy, you will never grow bored. And yeah, it's discouraging when shit doesn't look that great on analytics. Focus on you first and foremost, pursue it as a hobby, and when you start seeing the momentum, treat it as a job in terms of being smart about it, but consider it still a hobby and never lose that, and you can't possibly fail. That's the best advice I can possibly give, and it's the advice I've been hammering into myself year after year. And there's been plenty of points where I've wanted to abandon that and become a sellout, but I've stayed true to my morals, and I feel like I'm doing pretty good in terms of my own stuff, so just be true to yourself. That's the best advice I can give. Have you ever tried watching certain anime at some point in time and found you couldn't get into it, but then later on decided to give it another shot and find yourself hooked? Because this happens to me sometimes. I'll try an anime and feel bored/unimpressed, so I drop it, but then come back later one day and give it another try, and I'm hooked. And it's such a weird feeling because in those moments, you're kind of like, wow, why didn't I like this again? Now, this is one I've been trying to think of for a little bit here, about if there's been shows, and I know there has been. I mean, there's been plenty of stuff, like, I don't like going back to the same thing, but initially, like, looking at, like, the first minute of Haikyuu, when I was, like, trying to, find sports anime, right? I was like, It's stupid volleyball. I don't need to watch that. And there's been multiple isekais, right? I mean, just like the natural stuff where you, I guess, just have a image in your mind about what it's going to be, and it's judging a book by its cover. But then when you actually give it an honest to go, and for me, it's like the first 5 minutes, I can tell if I like something by then, because the whole idea of having to watch multiple episodes for it to get good, I think is silly when there's so many shows and games and movies out there that there's stuff that you're going to enjoy from minute one, so why wait to get to the good stuff after an hour? But it's really those shows in the genres that I'm not normally into. Actually, I think that kind of happened with Toradora, which is one of my all-time favorite shows where, you know, romance, sappy stuff. I was like, I'm a guy, I don't need to watch that stuff, right? And it wasn't necessarily like trying it, but more so like pushing back before giving it a go. Apologies, I don't have like a specific example, but it's more so like about to try and then pull away for some stupid reason. But then when I actually try it, I'm like, why didn't I finish this sooner, sort of a thing. And I think that's all the questions we have for now. But I like this. I like doing them once a month. I think they're fun. And I honestly meant to have this up, you know, yesterday, so it would have been the very last day of the month. But we'll still do one for September. So I do ask if you have any questions, leave them down below. If they're good enough for the video, I will try to put them in here. And I think it's a good spot to wrap it up. Leave some comments if you have any, like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you happen to be new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.